Hey guys, it's Justin Goff. I am here with Copy Accelerator member Scott Mills, and Scott has had a meteoric rise in the copywriting world in the last year. He was crushing it before. He was doing around 200,000 a year, and then basically made a huge quantum leap from 200,000 to around 400,000 a year as a copywriter. And just kind of for reference, I would say the number of copywriters that hit that kind of level. I mean, I could maybe name 20, 30 at the most. So it's I would say, a very small pool of people that kind of gets to that level. So I wanted to have Scott on. He was previously on when we talked about kind of him going from being a pastor in his former life to getting to the 200K level. And I want to have him on again to specifically talk about the big quantum leap that he made here, getting up to 400K, and kind of dig into how it happened, how it worked. For the people who've never heard of you, Scott, never listened to the old podcast. So you were a pastor in your former life. I got to imagine you never imagined that you'd be making 400 grand a year.
Yeah, no. I started out, my adult career as a public high school teacher, and then it eventually went into full-time ministry. And I had months last year and this year where I made more in a month than I made in a year. So it was pretty weird. And I still have, good friends that are pastors now, or youth pastors, or are teachers that have been in the industry for years and years and years and are approaching retirement. And, again, I've had months where I've made more than they make an entire year after a 25-year career as a teacher or as a pastor. So yeah, I'd never would have imagined that I'd be here. And obviously, I think like most people, you go through those, before any kind of rise, you have to hit bottom. And I definitely did. I think I mentioned on the last time we got together that back in 2012, 13, right after my daughter got married, I had to sell my truck to pay for the caterer. And we had like $30 in our bank account. And I was struggling to just find out any way to make money in the marketing realm, because that seemed to be like the easiest fit in terms of like being decent with people and kind of knowing what makes people tick. I tried sales and marketing. So yeah, believing that I would have been here now, not in my wildest dreams.
So let's give people watching a good idea of what you're doing right now. So I know you're mostly focusing on long form copy in health, personal development. Is that kind of the main two you're writing for right now?
Yeah, the main two or three are health, personal development, and some beauty thrown in. I've done some survival, but it's been a while since I've done survival.
Okay. So mostly I'm assuming supplements, and then personal development stuff around what, making more money, better relationships, stuff like that.
Yeah, kind of my first like legitimate big hit was in the personal development space with the bioenergy code, which was on ClickBank and ended up, being in the top 10 of ClickBank, which is really rare for a personal development offer, just because they don't have the big AOV like, Research or Exapure or, some of those supplement offers that tend to dominate the top 10. So it got as high as number 8 last year. And just even as recently as last month was actually still in the top 10. I think it's kind of, fatigued a bit, and it's 10 or 12, but I still make a pretty nice royalty from that every month, which is kind of nice, because it's just kind of, mailbox money, as they say. But it's definitely fatigue. So yeah, it's mostly health and personal development and beauty. Those three main niches.
I'm curious, was there anything that drew you specifically to those, or was it more like the opportunity arose and then you wrote them, then you enjoyed it? I think a lot of copywriters would be curious to know why you're actually focusing on those.
Well, yeah, early on in my copywriting career, after I discovered what copywriting was, I was doing some web copy and some Facebook ad copy. My actual first job as a copywriter was for a cleaning company here locally. So they, send cleaners out to houses and businesses. And so that's really kind of where I first started anything having to do with the online marketing world. But locally, there was a pretty high level copywriter here locally that was pretty active in the Cult of Copy, which is a Facebook group. I know you and I know about the Cult of Copy, but it doesn't seem quite as active as it used to be. But I'm not on Facebook that often anymore. But anyway, we connected and we did some projects together. And again, he's a pretty high level copywriter. And so we partnered with several projects back then. This is 2016, 17. And we had some pretty good success together, but the partnership kind of ended pretty spectacularly bad. And so that's early 2018, I think, is when I kind of went out on my own. But I kind of got into those niches because of a partnership that I had locally. And that's just kind of continued. And plus, I think there's some, at least for me, having the variety is really nice. Like by the time I'm done with a weight loss offer or a pain offer or whatever, having something fresh that's a little bit different is really nice. And the personal development niche is really similar to education, or similar to my background in church and religion, because there's a lot of spirituality that's connected to that. So it's familiar, and I enjoy it, and it also kind of tickles some of the metaphysical itches that I have from time to time. So that's kind of the reason why I still dabble in all those niches.
Nice. I think it's smart. I mean, a lot of people, I think if you were just straight writing weight loss for 15, 20 projects a year, you'd probably get super bored of it. Even if you just branched out to other stuff in health and did prostate and joint pain, it at least have some variety there. So the one thing I really want to dig into is, what was the real changes from going from 200K to 400K? And I have a couple ideas in my head. I want you to tell me if they were right. So here's what I think probably changed for you. I think what you charged, your rates and royalties probably went up. I think you started landing better clients. I think you probably became a faster writer and were able to crank out more projects. And I think the big one is probably a big shift in your mindset. Those are the four things, in my opinion, that I think probably changed. But obviously, I want to hear from you.
Yeah. So I'd say you're 4 for 4 on that. So you're batting 1,000.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that a lot of things came together. One is, I think for me, there was a lot I had to unlearn about writing. Part of it was my background as an English teacher. There's a lot I had to, strip away. There was a lot I had to unlearn in terms of storytelling. My tendency is to put way more of the story into it than I need to. And that's part of, maybe there's like a novelist, still lurking in me, that one day, maybe I'll write a novel, which is kind of in the back of my mind. But so I had to unlearn that. And I had to unlearn some mindset things, from when I was a kid, a lot. So, and then also once there is some kind of breakthrough success and there's something that you can point to and say, hey, I did this and it got that kind of result, that just opens up the door for, like you said, better clients and being able to legitimize raising your rates. But yeah, I would say probably of those, I'd say the biggest influence was mindset. I realized about a year and a half ago that mindset was the one thing that was holding me back. And I kind of came to that conclusion based on just reading your emails every single day, because you talk about it a lot. And then also, reading Stefan's emails and listening to him, in my inbox every day. And then the live events and the podcasts you do and the podcast Stefan's been doing. And so it just really dawned on me, what's holding me back isn't necessarily copywriting skills, because those are all learnable. And if someone's teachable, like you guys always say, if you are teachable and can kind of put sentences together and can follow a template and do research a certain way, you can be successful. And like you said, I had been pretty successful up until last year. But then a lot of things kind of came together at the right time, and most of them had to do with mindset in believing that I could do it, believing that I was worth charging more. Then also like the mindset of, I can actually write this faster. I think there was something in me that actually ended up self-sabotaging and elongating, projects, because I would worry over things because they weren't perfect, and just kind of felt like I needed to just keep massaging and keep changing and keep editing, and until finally, I don't know, just, edited myself out of my mind. So listening to you guys, and I think that that's such a big thing. And I think it can be hard for people to actually put their ego aside and be teachable. And that's difficult. And once that happens, then you can kind of start putting all those pieces together in a way that really you can just kind of get out of your own way, which is kind of what I needed to learn how to do.
So the one thing you mentioned that I really want to dig into was kind of the mindset around charging more and raising your rates. This question is always really interesting to me because it's, on the surface, like the answer is simple. It's like, raise your rates. Like, okay, charge 5K instead of 3K.
Yeah.
But as you know, there's so much stuff tied into this question in terms of your own self-worth, what you believe about money, what you grew up, what your parents believe about money. It's a deeply seated emotional issue for a lot of people.
Yeah.
The interesting thing always is too, like, most of everything you're really feeling is all internal. Like, it's not what the client 95% of the time doesn't feel the same as you.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious in terms of raising your rates. What were some of the blocks you kind of faced when it came to that?
Yeah. So I'd say, the progression for me has been, I think when I started at Copy Accelerator, I was charging about around $13,000 to $16,000 per project, like $13,000 for a sales letter, and then if it's a full funnel with upsells and emails, then it was 16. But then about 6 months in, is like, okay, I need to raise my rates, because I kept hearing that from you guys, and I realized that there were people that were about the same level as I was. And I think comparison can be helpful and hurtful in some ways. But it's like, hey, I can do, the stuff I've done is just as good as that. So in my mind, I needed that justification. Yeah, so then I raised it up to 20, and then I eventually raised it up to 25, and then eventually raised it up to 30, which is where I am now for a full package. Which feels, and I was really, really glad that Stefan raised his rates as well, because it's like the entire time I'm raising my rates, it's like, come on, Stefan, you should raise your rates at least a little bit. But I think that the mindset thing for me really was about getting the results for the client that justified the price. So I knew I wasn't a noob anymore. I knew I could put this together, and especially with, I think one of the biggest like aha moments was, oh, you know what? I'm not just writing this sales letter by myself anymore. I have you and Stefan, and the entire community has my back. So if it doesn't convert right out of the gate, I'm not alone. in that. And so I've got amazing resources all around me. So yeah, I'm going to do all the heavy lifting. I'm going to write the, 8, 9, 10,000 word sales letter, but I'm going to have true experts that can see what I can't see, or that can diagnose problems that are, that I'm too close to. So that was probably the biggest realization, was like, I am not doing this by myself, even though I'm doing the majority of the work. I'm not alone. So then it was getting some results, writing something that a ton of people bought, was really transformative. So yeah, the feeling worth that much money does take a little bit to overcome. And I would even say, just this year, when I raised my rates in January again, I still had that same, when I sent that out, on a proposal, it's like, oh shit, maybe they're going to say, yeah, you're not worth that or whatever. But those thoughts, even though they still come, they don't lodge and control my mindset like they used to. Even though they come, they're a little bit more of a fleeting presence.
I mean, I can tell you from the offer owner side, when we were hiring people at my supplement company, the difference between someone quoting 20 and 30 or 35, like,
Yep.
it just wasn't even on our radar. It
Yep.
literally didn't even matter. It was because we were just like, if you're good and you can write something that works, we know how to scale it. So that's all we really care about.
Yeah.
I think that's a kind of big eye opener for a lot of copywriters, because it's like, in your head, jumping from 20 to 25 or 20 to 30 is this big thing. And like I said, it really is much more about what's going on inside of you, and
Yeah.
a lot less about what because somebody who's got a $20 million business, like, they really don't care about the 10 grand.
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
Cool. So the other thing I kind of want to talk about there is, you raised your rates. Was last year the first time you kind of started adding royalties?
No, I'd kind of done that from the beginning, and it's something that I learned from my first partnership, was to always include that. And I think one of the things that I've been an advocate of when I talk to other copywriters is that, and I know not everybody's a fan of including ongoing royalties, but the reason for me is that I think it used to be, back in the day, almost anything could convert pretty quickly on cold traffic. Not anything, but if it was decent, you could convert and make money. But the audiences have become so much more informed, and they've seen everything. It is much tougher to get something to convert on cold traffic. So the optimization process can take time, and the length of, if I'm motivated to keep optimizing that funnel, then to me, that just makes it a no-brainer for the offer owner. So for example, the bioenergy code, I'm getting basically a 10% royalty on that. And basically the offer owner basically just has to say, hey, I need 5 emails for a contest. And I'm like, absolutely. He doesn't have to go find another copywriter, and he doesn't have to pay me for 5 more emails or for a new lead, because I'm getting,
You're incentivized to do it.
I'm incentivized to do it. And that was, paying me thousands of dollars a month. So whatever he needed, that's at the top of my priority list. So for me, the royalties are always about an ongoing partnership, even though I'm not necessarily like a partner, in the offer. I'm a strategic partner of sorts, so that it just makes scaling so much more streamlined. especially since scaling can take a little bit of time. I've got one right now where this offer is really, really close, and the first 2 or 3 leads kind of didn't work super great. So gave him another 3 leads, and one of them is looking promising, not the one I thought it would be. But those are things that for me make it really easy, and I think it makes it actually easier for the offer owner to scale.
Yeah, I agree. I'm curious, when you're quoting 30K plus royalties, are you including upsells with that, or is that just front end? That's upsells as well.
That's the whole package.
Okay.
Upsells and emails.
Okay. So I think that's a good kind of thing to see for people listening to this, because most offer owners are not good at upsells. If you left it to them, their upsells would convert at like 8%. They don't really know how to do them, and you're pretty damn good at upsells. So I mean, whatever you write, you're probably getting them 25-30% take rates, possibly even higher. And for them, I mean, it's to pay you 30K to have the whole funnel done. I mean, offer owners love done for you, in the sense like, I don't have to do shit except set the thing up. Like, if you're gonna do every step of the funnel, I'll gladly pay you more for that.
And that's actually one of the things that over the last year, the AOV and take rates on my upsells has been somewhat crazy. I've got several 6-bottle upsells that are where the take rate is like 45-50%, and the AOV is $300 or $270. So that's one of the gifts the pandemic has given us, actually, is to be able to agitate the supply chain. And I kind of developed a fairly unique way to do that in the 6-bottle upsell. And I actually think it'll work at least for the rest of this year, because the supply chain experts are actually saying that we're not going to get back to normal for years. So yeah, I think you're exactly right.
So one thing we kind of hit on a little bit earlier that I want to go back to is, how has your clients kind of changed? Has your clients changed at all from 200K to 400K? Is it different clients, or is it simply the same clients and you raised rates with a lot of them? I'm kind of curious how that works.
Yeah, I think I've actually had a few more from inside the group, from inside Copy Accelerator. I've done several projects with Alvin, who's awesome, and I've done a couple projects with Mattia, who's awesome. And so I think that just being in the group and posting a few wins has definitely got me a few more gigs from inside Copy Accelerator. But I'd say over the last 12 months, the clients haven't changed that much. It's how quickly I can turn them around. So whereas it used to take me 4 to 6 weeks to do a full funnel, now it's, the fastest I've done is about 2 weeks. So a sales letter, 3 upsells, and 5 email swipes in 2 weeks is kind of optimal. And it kind of depends on how quickly everything gels. Sometimes the mechanism takes a little bit more time, or I'll go down a road and realize, this is just not going to work. So I need to, reboot the entire idea. So now it's like, 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay. So one last thing I want to talk about here is kind of so at 200K versus 400K, what has really changed in your life outside of copywriting? I'm curious, like, are you doing more vacations? Are you spending more than you normally would? Are you socking away more money for whatever? I'm kind of curious how that's changed.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is it's definitely given my wife and me a lot more freedom. And I took all of July off last year, like July 1 through July 30th. I literally did zero work. So that was possible. And we did that because we were celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary and my wife's 50th birthday. So we spent most of that in Mexico with just her and I, and then my family. But I'd say the biggest part is savings and investments. Our lifestyle hasn't changed that much. When I stepped away from being a pastor, and right around that same time, we lost everything in the aftermath of the big crash of 2008, 2009. So we are slowly rebuilding some kind of retirement fund. And, I'm not a spring chicken like a lot of people in the group are. So we're kind of double timing it. So we are maxing out literally every retirement vehicle that we can. So as far as like the other lifestyle things, I really haven't, spent a ton of money on playthings. We still drive, 2014 vehicles. We still live in the same house that we, bought in 2019. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. But most of it's going into, investments and savings. And I'd say a couple of lifestyle things that just kind of popped to my mind. One is, I think one of the things that helped me be as productive as I was last year in completing all those projects. I should probably go back and like count how many actual funnels I wrote last year. But it was, it's close to maybe 15. I have to go back and check. But I spent way less time on social media. I pretty much eliminated Facebook from my life, except for checking the jobs board and for checking the group from time to time or getting feedback. And I also prioritize my own mental health and my own emotional health in a way that I'd never done before. So way more into hobbies. My wife and I started playing pickleball, which is
Nice.
one of the fastest growing sports in the country, and we're loving it. And we can drive 5 minutes into town and play and organize games or whatever. But I really eliminated a lot of unnecessary attention from my life. One of the guys I follow on mindset, his name's Benjamin Hardy, and he says, design beats willpower every single time. And so I've really taken that to heart and designed my life and my workflow because my willpower is not always great. And so having a workflow and being, I think you may have written an email or two about going pro. Do I remember that right?
Yep.
Yeah, I really took that seriously over the last year, and got really, really dialed in and focused about shutting everything off when I'm working and really protecting, magic time or whatever. So I think those, in a way, those are mindset issues, right? Those aren't just attention issues. For me, it was a design issue. It was a mindset issue. So those things really helped me up my production and be able to write 2 or 3 funnels in 6 weeks rather than 1.
Dropping knowledge bombs. Love it. All right. So I want to have you leave everybody watching with kind of one thing. So let's say somebody's watching this who's a copywriter now. Maybe they're in that beginning phase, struggling, or maybe they're working somewhere and thinking of kind of going on their own. having been through kind of all this yourself and being kind of now at the pinnacle of the copywriting world, what would your advice be to someone watching this?
Yeah, it actually feels weird to hear you say that I'm at the pinnacle of the copywriting world, but I'll take it.
You're in the top 1% for sure.
Since you're saying it, yeah, I'd say that. So a couple things. One is I used to think of copywriting as a talent, but I think that you guys have said over and over, it's a skill that you can learn. And if you can develop just one skill, again, I'm repeating a lot of what you've said, get really damn good at one money-making skill, and focus on that. And then at some point you'll realize, I think for most people, not everybody, but I think for most people at some point, mindset becomes the thing that holds them back. And so working on that is what really kind of helped me break through to that next level. And it's actually one of the things that I became really passionate about. And so I actually started a mindset membership for copywriters. And, mostly because I needed that, you know what I mean? It wasn't because, oh, now I'm some kind of expert. It's like, I still need this shit. And so I kept hearing the same thing over and over and over. It's like, I'm struggling with imposter syndrome. I'm struggling with self-sabotage. I'm struggling with, feeling I'm not worth it. All those things. And so that's what we discuss and that's what we talk about. And so I would say, if anybody's interested in that, it's called The Mindset Monster. You can find it at themindsetmonster.com, or inside of Copy Accelerator, we do kind of a pared down version of that on our Copy Accelerator mindset calls. So to me, the absolute number one key to breaking through to whatever the next level is mindset. And I'm kind of at that place too now where I've gotten to this level. Is like, okay, what's next? And it's not so much necessarily next level of income, although yes, I'd like to, make it to $1 million a year. And that's my goal. But, what's the next level of skill for me? Where do I need to go next in terms of my own career? And that's all mindset. Every level that you hit, there's going to be some kind of limiting belief you're going to need to break through. So maybe for me, it's like, I don't have enough time, or I'm not enough of an expert over here, or whatever it may be. So to me, mindset is always the key to breaking through whatever the next level is.
Love it, man. That was a great answer. So yeah, want to thank you very much for coming on, sharing all your insight and wisdom. It's pretty amazing to see where you've gone from when we met. I think it was like 2018 when you came to my event. Yeah. From where you were then to where you are now. I mean, it's a hell of a quantum leap, as we say. And I truly believe, I mean, you've put in the work and really listening and taking feedback, which you kind of mentioned, like just putting the ego out of the way and just being a good student. And yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see your kind of rise in your success, and you deserve every single bit of it, man.
And thank you for that. And I've said this to you and Stefan both. I'm super grateful that I found you guys and found the community here, because it's an amazing community. And it's interesting because I was actually on your list when you first announced Copy Accelerator, when it was first born. And I wanted to join, but I wasn't, one of the early adopters. I think I adopted, 6 months later or whatever, after the first event. But I honestly had tried to bootstrap my entire career up until that point. So I had never, ever actually invested in my own career. I think the most I had spent on my own education as a copywriter was like 50 or $100 on some random courses from Cult of Copy. And that felt like, that felt like I wasn't worth it. You know what I mean? It was like, I should be able to figure this out by myself. I shouldn't have to, I'm smart enough, or I should be able to like learn all this stuff just by picking up free scraps, you know, here and there. But I think the quantum leap really was about believing that I was worth investing in myself, finding the right opportunity, and then just listening to whatever the hell you guys say to do and doing that.
Awesome, man. Well, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you sharing everything. If you guys want to connect with Scott, his what's the link for the Mindset Monsters?
It's called themindsetmonster.com.
Awesome. So you can check that out. Yeah, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you sharing all your wisdom and your stories. I think you're going to inspire a lot of people this video. So I think everybody's going to give us a bunch of likes on YouTube. Crank up that algorithm.
Hack the algo.
There you go.
Thank you, Justin. I really appreciate it.